You're on.
Okay. Plague of lice today. Okay. Lice. We need to understand what lice is. Lice is a social embarrassment. It's something that is spread. It's something that belittles the people. It's something that brings them down to a place of poverty, the poverty level, and an embarrassment. It's a belittling of the people. Okay. So, and how is God doing that? Through the to the liberals today, through Hillary. Okay, through the leader of the liberal people who are taking the ungodly side. Okay. Now, if you're liberal and you're not taking the ungodly side, just get off liberal altogether. Just get away from them, because this is where their policies are leading them. Okay. Number one, I want to point out that the media are the lice spreading tool of this social embarrassment. And is it going to be an embarrassment? Brother, you better believe that it is. Okay. Now, and God planned. You know what? Some people they hide their lice. I don't have any lice. Look how pretty clean my hair is. But you know what lice does? Lice builds. It's a plague that grows slowly, and it's hard to tell that you have it until all of a sudden you look in the mirror one day and your hair is matted. You look like dreadlocks. Your whole head is one big dreadlock. That's what lice does to you, man. Every time I look at those people, I think about those dreadlocks or every time I look at those dreadlocks, I think about those people. One time we had a relative move into our house, and he didn't know that he had lice, and we noticed that his hair was kind of messy looking, but we got to talking to him, and you know, we're kind of close, so we just kind of brought it up, and he was, you know, and my honey checked his head, and he was filled with lice from, it looked like they'd been on there for 100 years.
Yeah, for 6 months.
And yeah, they'd only been there for about 6 months. But this what lice does to us. Social disease. You get it from hanging around somebody else who has it. That's how you get it. And these, you know, a lot of people like to put the frogs, the lice, and what else was it? Flies. They like to put those three together, but in actuality, because I think one caused the other. It was like a threesome, a spiritual thing, and it like one brought the other, you know. And just like this, one is causing the other one to take place. Just like with the frogs, he wouldn't listen to the frogs. So now the thing I want you to know about this is the plague of lice is the first one that the magicians of Pharaoh could not copy. So I want to talk about this one explicitly because of that. Because this is the one that's beginning to show their embarrassment. Just like, okay, the media cannot come up with an excuse for Benghazi. The emails, the evidence of the emails, they just can't come up with an excuse. They can't handle it. They can't deal with it. So you know what they're doing? They're not talking about it. Okay, let's not talk about our lice that we have. Let's just sit around and ignore them. You know what? People won't know it's underneath. They won't see nothing. Hey, you know, we can get away with that. That's the way that we are. If you can't see it, it's not wrong. My own dad told me one time, it's only wrong if you get caught in it. I'm like, wait a minute now, there's something wrong with that strategy. But you know what, man? Most of the unsaved world, that's what they do. They make up their own truth as they go. That's so evident with Obama. That's so evident with Hillary. I mean, you know what an habitual liar is? An habitual liar is somebody who believes their own lie. Even as they're sitting there making it up, they believe it to the fullest. You know what? You could hook a polygraph test by the hundreds up to Hillary while she's giving her testimony, and it would all come out that she believes that she is telling the truth in all this. And guess what? Her infection is plaguing 150 million people. There's like 150 million people. Half of this country is liberal, the other half is conservative. There is 150 million people who is believing her infectious lies. I mean lies. It's not funny really, because it's causing people's souls to be lost. You know what? If the Lord came back today, those believing such like things would be condemned to go to hell, because the Bible says, believe a lie and be condemned. It says damned, I think is what it says. So and this is how it's doing it. So let's read a little bit in here, and I've made some notes about it, and I just want to like take a second, go through those notes because I don't want to really leave anything out. But the media is the life-spreading tool, because they're ignoring it. You know what? All this stuff. Now, imagine if this had been Bush that done this thing. That's all we'd hear. We'd have special reports. They'd have it on for days at a time. They wouldn't allow. Unfortunately, the liberal media controls most of the airwaves. Now, I don't know how that happened. Maybe it was a God thing that set up, but unfortunately they are. And you know what? The Fox News is secular. They're not Christian. They're secular. And our Christian news, we don't have any Christian news, man. We just don't have any Christian news, because so many of our pastors and stuff are so ignorant. We don't have enough stuff in place to tell the truth of things that's happening to over 50% of America who call themselves Christian. There is like 80% of America that call themselves Christian that cannot get truth and fact. You know what? The Channel 16 here, who is the NBC, I think it is, they advertise when they talk about their news, they say reliable. No, they're not reliable. They're nowhere close to reliable. Every time they push that word, trustworthy, they say. No, they're not trustworthy. Not even close. And CBS, NBC, they're all the same way. All right, let's read this real quick. And the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Now, once again, this is only to the land of Egypt. This is only hitting on the liberals. This embarrassment is only coming to the liberals. When Hillary is plucked and they see the wrong, when they finally throw her in jail, you know what? It's hard for me to express this, because this is happening so exactly the way that it did with Egypt. Because even though after they see the wrong, there will be those that rise up and say, they did this wrong to us, let's get them, let's follow them down into the Red Sea. I don't care, we see the walls standing up of water, I don't care who done that, I don't care how it came, let's go get them, let's take our chariots and go down in there and smite them. Crazy. And excuse me. And so Aaron did that. Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in men and in beasts, and all dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. They could not. And in their ignorance they do these things, because it would have just made things worse. And this is the first plague they couldn't reproduce. They reproduced the serpents before Pharaoh. They reproduced the frogs. But when it came to the lice, see, this is the third one in a spiritual entity. God was saying, and this spiritual thing is mine, and you cannot do this because this is mine. Now listen, okay? Excuse me. And upon the beast, then the magician said to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." See what I'm saying? This is a spiritual thing. The third one. When you see 3 in the Bible, it's a spiritual thing. Okay, and God is saying, this is my spiritual thing, not yours. And the magicians couldn't redo it. And they said, the magician said, "This is the finger of God." And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not to them. And you know, in this thing, in the liberal media, spreading this stuff, this embarrassment, spreading these things out, spreading, they're belittling the people whom they say they're upholding. That's what communism does. It tramples on the very foundation that holds you up. Not in a good way, not in a good walking on, taking care of foundation, not like that. But it shatters that foundation. It's a hard weight that shatters that kind of walking on. And harden himself. Okay, and see, they will not, just like in this, they will not hear the truth. They will not heed to the truth. They will not turn their heart in the truth. But yet they will harden themselves further in this. This life is not complete. This thing is not complete. They will not see it until Hillary is plucked completely. They will not see it until the firstborn of the spawn of Satan is plucked. Just like in that day, they will do it in this day as well. Okay, and there's a lot more, but I don't want to make this too long. Is it a plague? I got right here. Is it a plague? You better believe it's a plague. It's affecting 150 million people, probably more than that. All right, thank you for joining me. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with this, whether I'm going to go into
Sunday.
Monday, so I've got a couple days to think about it. Whether I'm going to go into the flies and that or not, but in truth, I'm going to make 7 in all. But I'm going to space it out and get 7 out of this. 7 ways how God is bringing this in the exact same way that He did in the day of Egypt. All right, God bless. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you again next time. Crossing the Middle Ministry.